So, one thing I wanted to talk about briefly is that May is Arthritis and Lupus Awareness Month. And if you're listening to this, Jimmy and Emily already know this, but I have rheumatoid arthritis. I was diagnosed about a year ago, almost exactly. And lupus is something that my doctors think I probably have. And I think it's important to talk about just because it's really scary. Maybe not even scary. It's the diagnosis itself feels like kind of a relief for me anyway, because I was struggling for so many years.
Their trial and error until they figured out what was wrong with you.
Yeah. And autoimmune diseases are incredibly difficult to get diagnosed with.
Yeah.
That's why I don't have a diagnosis of lupus because it's so hard to diagnose. I mean, I don't know if I have it. I don't know if I don't have it. And that's what they say every time I go to the doctor.
That's so
But
crazy. That's so
yeah,
crazy.
but I am diagnosed with rheumatoid arthritis officially. And I think when you get the diagnosis, it's a little bit of a relief because you know that they can treat it and things should get better. One thing I didn't realize is even when you are on medicine, it might not work
Yep.
and you have to try a bunch of different things and they still might not work. And you still get flares when you're on your medicine and you have to take steroids sometimes, which affects your body in different ways. And
Especially as a woman, messes
yeah,
with your
Mhm.
hormones. Yeah.
and you go through a bit of a grieving process of your old life months into your diagnosis because you realize, okay, things aren't going to be the same, and you have to figure out how to deal with that.
Yep.
But the reason I wanted to bring all this up is that it's not the end of the world. You do what you have to do, you learn to accept it, and you still live your life. I think it's really important to keep living your life. Things aren't going to be the same. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. They're just not. But
No.
you learn how to live this new life and you learn new ways to enjoy life, especially exercising. That's probably my biggest one. I was a runner before I got sick, and
You were an athlete.
A
You were a
cheerleader.
cheerleader. You were not just a runner, you were an athlete.
yeah,
Like,
I was an athlete and I was my entire life, and that's a really hard thing to let go of. But
oh
now
God.
I do yoga and I do Pilates and I go on walks and I go on hikes. Sometimes I go a little too hard on the hikes.
Yeah, Runyon.
Yeah, I was not well when I came back from Los Angeles. But
3 miles uphill.
And
Anyway.
the snakes made it worse.
honestly, I had fun, so it was worth it. So you have to
Yeah.
figure out the balance. But I think another reason I wanted to talk about this is because I think I'm not like the face of RA by any means, but like I still do all these things. Am following my passions and pursuing things, and I have a day job and I have a family and like, you know, I don't have children. That might have been misleading.
You have
No,
Daisy.
you have a family. I mean,
Yeah,
like,
and like
yeah.
life can still be normal. It's just something you have to deal with.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I if someone's happens to be listening or watching this and is dealing with a diagnosis or dealing with autoimmune issues, just know it's going to be all good.
Yeah.
And when you have supportive people, like I have Jimmy and Emily, and I have other friends and my husband who are so supportive and help me. Yeah.
Yeah.
Jimmy was there when the
You were
day my
there.
RA got, like, it was before
Oh
I was
my
diagnosed.
God. Yeah.
The day it
What
got
were we
really, really bad.
what were we doing?
We
It
were
was
meeting with Bailey, and she was telling
oh,
us
the
about her
pitching.
ideas for the script.
Oh
Yes, for
yeah.
Against Us. She
Yeah,
was
Emily, I think you
swollen.
were at the beach.
Yeah, I
You
was
were at
at
the
my sister's
beach.
graduation in Florida.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, you were completely swollen. We were like,
I
we need to stop. And then China's like, no, no, like, let's just do this. So she was just cradling an ice pack to because your arm was swollen and then your legs were swollen. Like everything was swollen.
Yeah, every single joint
Everything.
on my body was
Everything was
swollen.
swollen. So she's just like cradling all these ice packs, and we're like still working on against us, and not, she didn't stop. Like it was absolutely madness. And we were out there for 3 or 4 hours working on it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You looked at my feet at one point and you're like, I think we should stop.
Yeah. Yes.
It's
Yeah.
not pretty, but
No.
it is what it is.
It is what it is, and it's never been something to get in your way.
Yeah.
You know, it
Uh,
definitely makes it harder and it creates more obstacles, but it's never going to stop you from doing what you want.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And if anyone's going through uh struggling to get a diagnosis or something like that, or just has questions, feel free to comment or DM us on Instagram.
Absolutely.
I've never talked about it online before, but I'm pretty open about it. It's not a secret, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. And you talking about it, especially in, you know, in within filmmaking and with what we're doing, this is such a hard industry, especially for women. So having this disability and being open about it could be really helpful for other people that are trying to navigate through this with the same problems that you're
Yeah.
dealing with. And it feels very isolating and alone. And this career feels very isolating and alone. So to then have both of those things, I can't imagine.
Yeah.
So, yeah.